that aren't here at this event, two people that I believe are dear to the Hatzoloh family, two people that I believe whose presence is sorely missed. One is Rav David Price, Zatzal, and one is Shlomo Zakheim, and whatever I say, I hope Hashem puts the right words in. Whatever Torah we learned tonight, whatever schusim that you guys have more schusim than any of us. It should be for Refuah Shlema, for Shlomo Eliezer ben Chayes or Elka, and the Kosh Baruch Hu send Refuah Shlema, Refuah Nefesh, Refuah Haguf, for Kol Sharei Chol Yisrael, Meher B'Yameinu Amen.
Amen.
Freedom. You know, in life sometimes, each of us, as parents, I need like a zone to walk in. I'm good. In life sometimes, as parents, as spouses, as businessmen, as Jews, we sometimes feel like we're working like crazy. We wake up early, we go to bed late. There's no more time in the day. We're always tired. And if we ask ourselves, do we have any more minutes to do in life? We're like, who has any more time? We wake up in the morning, we stare at our pillows, we're like, no, goodbye, I'm gonna miss you so much. It's like we have a nostalgic moment in the morning. We're like, we'll see you, I'll go to bed early tonight, maybe on Shabbos I'll sleep a lot. We never have any more time, but yet with all the amount of work that we do, as exhausted as we are, we have this sense, each and every one of us, that we're not dominating life. It's good, but it's not amazing. I'm not the best husband, wife, businessman, Jew that I can be. There's something that's holding me back. There's something that's enslaving me. And if I could just walk out of that slavery, I can reach a piece of myself that I didn't know possible. And the question is how? You know, we're entering in a time right now of Pesach. Pesach is a time of freedom. Freedom is not what happened to us a long time ago. There's aspects of what's going on in Pesach right now that we can apply to our lives tonight to become the people we're meant to be. And the question is how? So I want to tell you a story. I want to tell you how I got my first job. So I'm not a rabbi. I'm a lawyer. I was a lawyer for many years. And I went to a school in New York City called Columbia University. And the way it works in Columbia is after your first year, you get your grades. In the beginning of your second year, you have to search for a job. So they're not going to take all the students and go out to all the law firms, that'd be nuts. So they're not going to take all the law firms and bring them down to the university, that'd be crazy. So what happens is, all the law firms and all the students meet in one location in the city called the DoubleTree in Times Square, and it's 3 days of binge interviewing. So this is 2000. Remember 2000? Crazy stuff happened in 2000. Remember those days? You went to college and you got a job. Remember stuff like that happened back then? This was before 9/11. I mean, the world was, and it was the first day of interviewing, and people were getting all these job opportunities and job opportunities. And I remember, I'm a Jew. If you're a Jew, 3 days means you have 3 full days. That's how I was raised. If it's free, you take 2. That's how it works. So day 1, day 2, by the time day 3 is, all these guys had jobs. The only people who were left in the room were the firm Jews. So there's a firm that I wanted to work for so badly called Davis, Polk & Wardwell. There's something about wasps that I love so much. I don't know what it is. It could be the numbers after the last name, the lapdog, the Mayflower, the mahogany wall, something. And this was the waspiest firm that you could find. Now, I wanted to work at Davis, Polk & Wardwell, but that firm was like top, and I did okay, but nowhere near that firm. So it was the last day, and I'm sitting in the room, and there's this huge board right in front of me. And on the board is every single interview. And on the last interview, the 5:30 slot was Davis, Polk & Wardwell. And as in this huge board, I look over, it says, available. I'm like, should I go for it? Should I not? Should I go? I mean, I'm never gonna get it. I'm like, but it's open, should I do it? I'm like, I'm going for it. I go up to the lady, I go, I'd like to put my name down. She goes, okay, sit down, I'll let you know if you get it. So I sit down, 2 seconds later on the board it says, Davis, Polk & Wardwell, Charles Harari. I'm like, okay, here goes nothing. I go upstairs to the interview and I realize that as soon as I open the door, this is going to be the worst interview of my entire life. The partner they sent to the 5:30 interview was a brand new partner they just brought in from China. He speaks no English. I speak no Chinese. It makes for a great interview, let me tell you. I gotta tell you, I have a neighbor across the street, a friend of mine. An American guy, he married an Israeli woman. He speaks no Hebrew. She speaks no English. Great idea for marriage. Don't understand what your wife says. Bliss. He's this happy-go-lucky guy. She's this hot-blooded Israeli. He's sitting in the morning with a cup of coffee, happy looking. She is screaming words I didn't even know were Hebrew. He's like, what is she saying? I'm like, that she loves you. He's like, she is passionate about that. I'm like, she's clearly passionate about something. And yes, you can sleep on my couch. So I walk in, he looks at me and goes, what's your name? And I'm like, I feel like I want to order something, but I don't know what you just said. He goes, name. I'm like, okay, just slow it down for me. He goes, name. I'm like, oh, name. I totally know the first answer. I'm like, Charles Harari. Then he asked me, why do you want to be a lawyer? I only heard, do you want to be a lawyer? Why do you want to be a lawyer? Yes. And he's like waiting. I'm like, very much? I don't know, go contracts, yay juries, what happens next? So at this point, he stops talking to me. You know how long, you have to give the student 25 minutes. You know how long 20 minutes is of no talking? He puts his head down and stares at my resume for 20 minutes. 20 minutes later, he looks up at me and goes, Talmud? Now I'm thinking, he didn't say Talmud, that's for sure. I'm like, what rhymes with Talmud? I'm like, Almud, Balmud, Kalmud. I'm like, you say Talmud? You know when you go to Israel, by the way, after high school, when you go to yeshiva for like more than 5 minutes, they give you all these advanced Talmudic degrees, you know what I'm talking about? He goes, you know Talmud? Now I'm thinking, I don't know where he is going with this, but I like it. I'm like, yeah. He goes, oh, really? He goes, I just got it from China. I'm like, yeah, I can tell. He said the first day they brought, the way it works, by the way, in these big law firms, is the smartest guys in law firms they put in the tax department. The first day, they brought me around to all the partners, and I met this Jewish partner, and I walked into this room, and he was considered to be the smartest man in the law firm, and he had this big, huge office, and behind him were all these tax codes, and on the corner of the tax codes was a different color binding, and I said, sir, what's that? And he said, that's a Talmud. You think the tax codes are hard? This is 10 times. This is 10. This is part of our act, by the way. This is 10 times harder. So he looks at me and goes, you must be a genius. So I'm like, I like to brag. I mingle around you people to see how you live, and I'm not that impressed. I said, I have been studying the Talmud since I was in the 5th grade. He goes, oh, it is an honor to meet you. I said, it is an honor you met me as well. So I walked outside the office. I'm like, I don't know what's going on in Shemayim. I don't know if Gabriel's having a bad day and God's putting on a show, but I'm hoping everyone's having a good time. I go to a wall. I don't know why. I went to a wall to pick up a phone. I'm not sure why, but I went to a wall, put money in a wall, and I called my wife. And I said, my wife said to me, Charlie, Davis Spoken Word called like 20 times for you. I'm like, I know. I should have having some fun. Don't worry, when I get to Davis Polk, they're going to realize that I'm not Davis Polk material. And God's like, I'm just getting started with you, Charlie. So I go to Davis Polk, and the way it works in these firms that you go for the first interview, the second interview, and you pretty much say whatever you're supposed to say. You sit in an office, you nod them through, you say you love working, and you love law, and they're happy. Then what they do is they take you out to lunch. And at lunch, they get to find out about you. So I go to lunch to a place in the city called Prime Grill with a woman about my age, and a man a good 6, 7 years older than me. She's talking, it's going great. He doesn't say one word. Barking at the waitress, he's literally like, in his presence you get nervous. We're halfway through the meal, and there's like an uncomfortable silence. And we pause. So he turns to me, and he goes, so, I see you're a Jew. And I'm like, oh, okay. Gravy train is now over. This was fun while it lasted. I said, yes, I happen to be a Jew. He goes, it's an honor to know you. I said, okay. He goes, before I went to law school, I was a US Marine. And us Marines respect nobody, except for the Israeli commandos. And I'm thinking, he thinks I'm an Israeli commando? I'm like, that's right, Sergeant, Alpha, Beta, Delta, Charlie. I was rappelling off the Mediterranean with my Talmud in one hand. I can do something else out of here, but I killed the chicken on the way, and you didn't realize, but I did. So at that point, I realized I'm getting the job. God wants me to have it, and so no matter what I do, I'm getting it. So I put my feet back, and I go, now I'm doing the interviewing. I go, excuse me, Mr. US Marine. Where do you get off telling me that there's anyone in the world you respect but the US Marines? He says, I grew up in Texas. I'm like, okay, this can't get any cooler. He said, when I grew up in Texas, I grew up in a family of people that served our country. And I love our country, because I believe in liberty and justice and freedom. And when I went to the army, all I wanted to do was defend ourselves from those things. By the way, this is before 9/11. Do you remember the times before 9/11? Remember that, those days, those crazy days where we used to, you ready for this? Put our shoes on from house to the plane. You know, we did crazy stuff. Cup of coffee, liquids going back and forth. We were partying back then. Before 9/11, nobody thought that there was terrorism in America. I remember I was in the trains during 9/11. You were probably in 9/11 helping people. I was in the trains leaving. I had the first guys, I was in Columbia, so we were going uptown. I had the first people that were coming off before the second tower got hit. The first people that were leaving were coming on our trains. We were sitting on our trains, and we turned to someone and goes, what happened? And they said, well, some crazy guy drove his plane into the tower. And a friend next to me, the Yamagon, says, was it terrorism? And in front of the whole train, the guy goes, terrorism? You Jews are so obsessed with terrorism. This isn't the Gaza Strip. This is New York City. Before 9/11, we weren't thinking this stuff. He says to me, this was going on before 9/11. He goes, I went to the Marine Corps, and I wanted to fight for freedom, but guess what? We had freedom. Our country is blessed with liberty and freedom, and I went out to the world. What was I? Was I a peacekeeper in Bosnia? I don't know who I was. I don't know what I was fighting for. And then I did a special joint exercise with the Israeli army, and they paired us up, commando to Marine. And we spent a week together. And at the end of the week, they brought us to this hill called Masada. And on the top of the hill, they set us in a semicircle. And the commander walked in the middle of the semicircle, goes, you know why we're standing here for? Because after the Second Temple, the Jews left their place, and they ran to this hilltop to start a community. And the Romans came and found them. And they surrounded the mountaintop, and they looked to the right, but no one was going to save them. They looked to the left, and no one's going to save them. So they committed mass suicide. He said, we're here as an army because this doesn't fall again. We are done being victims. Being a Jew doesn't mean you're weak no longer. We'll protect ourselves. We'll defend ourselves. And he said to me, you know, the first time, I wonder about you people. I went to every school, I went to every program. I always wondered how we've been doing this for 250 years. You guys just showed up and you have an Air Force and the whole thing. How? It's because you know who you are. You're the people that walked out of the ashes of the Holocaust. You're the people that are sick and tired of getting kicked out of countries in the Middle East. And you know what you're fighting for. You're not fighting for an ideal, you're fighting for your mother's backyard. You lose a border, you lose a country. And if you know who you are, and you know what you're fighting for, you can accomplish anything. You ever feel in life sometimes we're going and going and going and we're spinning and spinning and spinning, but we're not really hitting the ground. Why? It's because we don't know who we are. We don't know who we're fighting for. So who are we? And what are we fighting for? So the answer is found, I believe, in this period of time. Because this is the period of time, by the way, where the Kadosh Baruch Hu steps up and says, I want to tell you what I'm looking for. Because right now, we're entering the time where us as a people begin. This is when the fun starts. Right now, we walk in and God shows up and goes, I'm going to have a little bit of fun with you people. And he poofs miracles and he splits seas and he shows up. This is the time where us as a people began. And God specifically chose one man to lead us through. But if you look at Moshe's resume, it's really not so great. If you're looking at the resume, by the way, I mean, Moshe wouldn't get into yeshiva here for sure. He wouldn't be marrying our kids, that's for sure. You know what I'm saying? He grew up in Darth Vader's house. You know what I'm saying? Like, his dad was the bad guy. He leaves, he's an ex-con, he's convicted of murder, and he leaves to Midian and marries a priest's daughter. He shows up in the middle of his life. I mean, if someone read his shit up there, we'd be like, well, he's a nice guy. I mean, let him know. For someone else's kid, not mine. And from everybody in the world, God chooses Moshe. Why? Why does God choose Moshe? He had a lot of people to choose from. He had a whole shevet of lady that was sitting around, they were just learning all day. Why would God choose Moshe for? What was it about Moshe that Kadosh Baruch Hu said, I know, this is my guy? So I want to give these answers, because this is the answer, by the way. To me, honestly, this is Hatzoloh. You know, I hope, it's hard for me to express just how much I am proud to be a Jew, in part because of Hatzoloh. It's hard to express the words that I feel when I see people running around, how proud I get. And I believe it's because of this one Nekuda. Moshe Rabbeinu. Why did God choose Moshe for us? We have to begin the story of Moshe, not from Moshe, because that's not where the story begins. Moshe's story begins a lot earlier, because Moshe, the Arizal tells us, did not start off as Moshe. The Arizal says that Moshe actually was coming to part 2. The Moshe that we meet in Mitzrayim, his soul actually came to the earth before once. He came back. What was Moshe's first Gilgal as? Noah. Moshe really was, his neshama was a piece of Noah. So if you want to understand the galus of Moshe, we have to begin with Noah. Now Noah is an amazing story, right? What's the story of Noah? The world's going crazy. God says, Noah, build me a teva. And Noah built, being a Jew, it takes 120 years to build a teva. You know what I'm talking about? If Noah was Italian, it would happen over the weekend. There'd be grand countertops the whole way through. But when you're a Jew, this is what it takes. You may know a contractor, but you're not actually getting your hands dirty, right? How do you know the Kodesh Baruch Hu has a sense of humor? How do you know Hashem has a sense of humor? Proof in the pudding, by the way. How? Sukkot, for sure. A holiday where we all have to build something to live in for a few days. They're probably partying in Shemayim right now. Which is why every year there's like bigger Lego sets for Sukkot. You ever notice this? Every year it's like, this is a little Lego set. This is a big, like, no screws, no nails, don't do it. Just throw the Sukkot up in there and it lands. You're a Jew. You can write the contract. You don't have to get your hands dirty with an actual screw handle. So I'm one of those guys, by the way, that is, my father, God bless him, is very handy. I am the exact opposite. So I remember one year I bought myself this massively big Lego set called the Sukkah. But the way it works is that you have to put the schach on wood. So I put up the sukkah, I'm so proud of myself, clicking things in, and I don't know what to do. So I call my dad, I go, Dad, where do I get wood? He goes, seriously? I'm like, yeah, where do I buy wood? He goes, Home Depot. I said, where's Home Depot? He goes, you are no longer my son, you are now my daughter. So he tells me, of course, as soon as I find out, I turn to my wife, I'm like, honey, yeah, I'll be back in a little bit, I'm gonna go to Home Depot. Build some stuff, whatever. If you need anything like screwing in light bulbs or just building houses, I'll be in Home Depot. I get to Home Depot. Ever been to Home Depot for the first time? Let me tell you what it's like for me to be in Home Depot for the first time. I bet maybe the ladies can identify with me more than the guys here, but the first time I walked into Home Depot, it was extremely, I walked in, I'm like, oh my God. I mean, Home Depot, by the way, is Latin for Jews not allowed, just letting you know. I walk in, I see the first guy I meet, he's in orange. I go, excuse me, sir, can you help me? He goes, what do you need? I'm like, I'm here to buy wood. He goes, what size? I'm like, medium? He's like, really? He's like, I'm like, and then you know when you do something like that, you ever do something you look weird and you don't care? You know what I'm talking about? Like when you come out of the bathroom the first time at work and you say, Ashiyatza, you ever had that experience? You come out, Ashiyatza, they're like, what are you doing? You're like, nothing. Like, not nothing, you whispered something and you're like, a prayer. To who? I'm like, to God, for the bathroom. They're like, you can't get weirder. You're like, apparently I can. I'm just gonna dive in chakras in the middle of the whole thing. You ever get that feeling when you put Tefillin on the airport? You're like, forget it, I'm weird anyways, let me just enjoy myself. So I walk in, anyway, he's like, I can't get any worse than I am. I walk in, he's like, yeah, I'm like, I feel like, if I'm weird anyways, I'm like, I'm trying to build a hut. And he's like, oh, a hut? I'm like, he goes, oh yeah, aisle 4, all the hut people are in aisle 4. I go to aisle 4, there's like 8 Jews sitting around, one guy in orange, he's like 2x2, 2x4, 2x6, 2x8. They're like, if I buy 4, does the 5th one come free? If I get a credit card now, does 50% off this purchase too, or do I have to wait for a purchase? Kodesh Baruch Hu knows what he's doing. He doesn't want to kill people. He's like, how am I going to get them to do tshuva? Have the Jew build a teva. It's going to take 120 years. But if you look at Noah, by the way, I have never seen, if you look in Torah, you've never seen such a way he's being treated in Chazal and Mefarshim versus the way it is in Torah. Kodesh Baruch Hu says, Eila told us Noah is tzaddik, tamim haya b'derosiv. The Kodesh Baruch Hu introduces Noah goes, by the way, my guy here, yeah, tzaddik. I'm giving testimony, hashgacha, mahadrin, but that's the whole deal on Noah. Rashi shows up and goes, I don't know. No, some guys agree. Well, some guys don't. And by the way, we read it, we don't appreciate what's going on. Listen to the words that Rashi says, it can blow you away. He goes, Avram. Well, had he been with Avram's time, Lo haya nichshav leklum. That's, the Navi says that when you're talking about the Mabul, he describes the Mabul as May Noach. And the Arizal says he says May Noach because that entire Noach was connected. It may have been his fault. The Gemara says Noach Mekatani Munah. What is going on with Noach? Why is the Mefarshim not treating him properly? And the answer that many of them give, this is from the Kedushas Levi, he says that the truth is that 120 years, 120 years, how many guys show up with Noach? 120 years you're building the thing. How many guys you bring on but your family? Besides your son-in-laws and your daughter-in-laws. How many people that's not your family show up on that tape after 120 years? Nobody. Why? You didn't daven hard enough. You didn't care enough. You didn't worry enough. You didn't believe in them enough. Had you believed in them more, you'd have showed up with somebody. So he comes back as Moshe. Now watch Moshe's background, because you can't make this up. Moshe grows up, he's in the palace. He's the prince of Egypt. What he should be doing all day is waking up early in the morning and saying, my life is really tough. I got camel riding at 2. I got jockey jumping at 6. I got to build miles at 8. I got a dinner tonight for the suffrage of the Jewish people. I'm donating a plaque in their honor. It's rough being a prince of Egypt. What does he do? The Medrash says he walks around and he looks over to the Jews and he cries and he says, I wish I could be you. I would die for you, he says. The mitzvah, because they were so evil to us, they would not only give us jobs to do, they would switch the jobs so it was inappropriate. They would have a kid take a letter and an old man take a heavy package. They would take things that would be for women and give it to men and men for women because they wanted to mess us up. And Moshe would go in with his pass, his all-access pass, and he would shift things around. And one day he wakes up and he goes out there and he sees an Egyptian hitting a Jew and he goes, you touch him again, I'm going to kill you. And the Egyptian goes, Moshe, stop it. He goes, you touch him, I'm going to kill you. He goes, we get it. You're a liberal guy. I get it. You love these people. This is your career. Stop it. They're lowly Hebrews. And he goes, you touch him again, I'm going to kill you. And the Egyptian touched him. And he killed them. And guess who got him? Guess who ratted? His own people ratted. And he had to run away. And he gets to Midian, and you think by Midian they'd say, you know, Genickshine already, I got it. You get into trouble. He shows up, and there are shepherds there. And the reason why they have all this problems is because the shepherds are harassing the women. And he goes, you're harassing the ladies? And they go, who are you? He goes, you touch them, you mess with me. They go, who do you think you are? And then he becomes a shepherd. And it's not easy being a shepherd, I know. I grew up in Canarsie. This is what we did. We were shepherds. And the way it works when you're a shepherd, for those that were shepherds, this is how it works. You got to keep the sheep in line. And one day, the Medrash says, this is the best Medrash of all time. I actually have it on my phone. This is the best, I think this is the best Medrash of all time. Because this, I believe, is the Rabboni Shalom giving us an insight to Him. This is the, one little gedi runs away. One sheep runs away. It's actually a lamb, sheep, whatever, runs away. And the Medrash says he goes all the way to a chazas, shaded area, and then when he's in that area, the sheep finds a little pool. And you can imagine Moshe's got all these sheep that he's got to take care of. And he's looking at all the sheep, and they're sheep, they can go anywhere. And he noticed that one sheep ran away. So he had to run after that sheep. And you can imagine what it must have been like for Moshe. He's got all the sheep behind him, and he runs after that sheep. And as he runs after the sheep has got his face down, and he's licking the pool of water. And Moshe should have came over and hit him in the back and go, get back in line. But not Moshe. Moshe gets down on a knee. This is the Medrash says. This is a Medrash. This is what he says. It says, you ran here because you were thirsty. Now you must be tired. And he put the sheep on his back. And he carried the sheep back to the flock. And the Rabboni Shalom looks down and goes, really? A sheep? You were worried about the pain of a sheep? You're carrying the sheep on your back as the shepherd? You are my shepherd. Because this is what it means. This is what it means to be a leader in Klal Yisrael. You care. Not like when people are looking. You care to a level that you're talking to a sheep and you put him on your back and the Kodesh Baruch says, this is what I want. You didn't come from the best background. You didn't have the best life. But you care. And then Moshe Rabbeinu has the ultimate moment. And this is the ultimate moment. Bnei Yisrael gets the Torah, everything is perfect. He's shepherding the whole thing through. He's doing his job. 10 makas and a Torah later, not bad. He gets award. He gets honor at the dinner for sure. And he comes down and they're sinning with the Chet HaEgel. Last week's parsha. And he goes back up. Now listen to what you can't build this drama. No one in Hollywood can build a drama like this. Listen to this drama. Moshe Rabbeinu is Noach's Gilgal. Noach had an option from God that was what? Me and you, Noach. Everyone else gets wiped out. And Noach said, you got it, I'm in. Kodesh Baruch Hu turns to Moshe, Noach's Gilgal, with the same exact offer. And he says, Moshe, they're all sinning. How about me and you? Let's start again. Now you can imagine what's going on in Shemaim right now. From the moment Noah took it, everything, the Gilgal's ready, the Tikkun is ready, and Moshe stands in the exact same place that Noah stood, with the Rebbeinu Shalom looking at him and going, you are right, they are wrong, just go with me, get on the Teva, get on the Ark, Moshe, and me and you will sail along to safety, we'll build again, me and you. And Moshe, being Moshe, said, Macheni na, I don't think so. I go with my people. It's my people, nothing. And Rav Tzadok says if you take the letters May Noach, those are the exact letters of Mecheni. That at that moment where Moshe took the offer and said, my people. The Kodesh Baruch Hu, Torah Shlema speaks about this all the time. And the Rishonah goes crazy about this as well. If you're looking into all these Sfarim, they go nuts about this stuff. Because had he been able to take that deal again, he would have lost it. His entire goal in life was to be at a place where he had the exact same scenario. And Moshe goes, these are my people. Because that's what it means to be great. This is who we are. Who we are is one people. Who we are is one nation. We're not different. I don't know how we get lost sometimes in thinking like because we look different, we are different. And this person and that person, you'll look like me. That's all narishkeit. That's all gullus stuff. That's the stuff that keeps us in here. That's the reason why you guys are running around helping people, because we're stuck in a gullus that's built around people that are saying, you look different than me, so you must be different. We're not one people. We're different. And Moshe is the one that shows up and goes, you want to taste Geula for 1 minute? Let me taste Geula with you. It's that I just care about you like crazy. I go with my people. That's Galus. That's Geula. That's who we are. Let me tell you why I love you, Hatzoloh, so much. And I mean this from Omek Libi, and I have this list. This is my 4th Hatzoloh. If Hashem blesses me, I would speak in every single one for this reason. And you have to hear it, because you're not going to take it in, because this is who you are, otherwise you wouldn't be running around. Because you have to hear this. This is what you represent. This is what you represent. You represent the I am tired, I work for a living, it's Friday night for God's sakes, I'm exhausted. You know what, I miss my kids like every other mistake kids. You know what, I don't want to sit down and have challah with my kids. I can't go to a Pesach Seder. I don't want to hang out with my wife. And the call comes in to a Jew, to someone you don't even know. You're not asking what they look like. There isn't as far as I know, there's no picture. And you say, I know, I gotta go. And you run, and you kill, and you work, and you get down on a knee, and you go, you know, you must be tired, I'll carry you on my shoulders. What Hatzoloh does for Klal Yisrael is it reminds Klal Yisrael that we have people that taste Geula. You may not think it that way, but that's the way it is. It has people that are built around, I could care less what you look like. We're one. I'm here. Touch him and I'll kill you. 2 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, it doesn't matter. That's who you are. That's what we're all fighting for. We're fighting to make sure that we live this way always. That you realize this always. That it's not that you're running to a job. It's that you represent something for Klal Yisrael. But let me tell you something, guys. There's somebody that deserves a little bit more thank you. And that's the ladies. And I'm going to tell you why. And I'll conclude with this, but you have to hear this for the ladies. Because people think that the reason why you should thank the ladies is because they let you go. Right? As if they don't have the right to have a husband in the house. As if they're not working like crazy to make Shabbos on the table, to sit down for the first time all week, running like nuts, and finally they get a drop of menucha that the kids are in front of them, and they have a husband. They don't deserve a husband? Everyone else deserves a husband? And they sit down for the first time all week after schlepping and schwitzing, and they turn to their husband, and they see the Shabbos table, and then, and he's just going. And it's not just that she says, go, it's okay. And it's not just that she says, it's Pesach Seder, for God's sakes. I don't want my kids to be educated. My kids don't deserve a father home teaching them about Pesach. Go. And it's not just that it's at night, and you come home after helping her for the first time you walk in the house, and as you walk in, the call comes in, you go right back out. And she goes, I got the homework, don't worry. It's not just that she has to walk into weddings alone, because you guys are out helping people. It's not just that. Because that alone is enough. That's enough where you say Dayenu and you win, but it's more than that. And I want to, for 1 minute, explain to you why it's more than just all the times that she has the right to say Genick. And she says, fine, go help a stranger. I got you covered. It's more than that. You see, what men need in a relationship, what women need in a relationship is something called appreciation. Women are willing to do anything for anybody. But what gets them is when somebody doesn't know how to say thank you. Because women are at their core givers. They come from, it's a whole other shir if you want, different story. They come from the Rona Shalom, it's a whole other story, different night. Different time for a different night. But at the end of the day, trust me. Let me tell you what guys need. I want to tell you what your husbands need. We don't say it because we're tough and cool and proud, but all the guys, even if there's keys and chains and radios all around them, sirens over the head, the whole thing. Let me tell you what guys need more than anything in the world. They need their wives to be machshav them. The guy could be the toughest guy in the world. He could be in charge of a CEO of a big company, could have all his friends sitting around. If his wife's not machshav him, he feels like he's less of a man. He needs his wife to be, and what happens is, it's an Ezer Kenegdo concept. And if your wife's not machshav something, you know what happens to the thing that she's not machshav? It gets lost. If she's not machshav Yiddishkeit, you get no chance in the house. If she's not machshav a family member, that person's got no chance. If she's not machshav something at her core, not what she says, because you can see if she says something what she means. If she's not machshav what you do, you're not going to do it. Not with the enthusiasm. You're not sitting around and watching. You're running. You need a kayach. You need a siyata d'shmaya. That comes from the wife. And the reason why you're able to do what you do is not just that she lets you go, because at her core, she is machshav the work. And having people that are machshav the work, that don't get to go and have fun. It's one thing to go, and I'm not saying it's fun, but there's a certain adrenaline. Come on, let's be straight. You know what I'm saying? You love going down that street with the sirens on. I gotta go. You just fly through. Even though you're just going home from work, whatever it is, you have sirens. It's all good. And you love making. If there's a parking hydrant, you pull right in. You're like, it's cool. I got it covered. I can park wherever I want, even on streets. I knew as I walked in, someone parked in the street. They have to. It's Hatzoloh. That's how we roll. But I gotta clap for that. That's for sure. But at the end of the day, with all of that, to not go on any calls, to not do any of the sirens, to not have any of the adrenaline, to even not get the feeling you get when someone looks up at you and says, thank you for saving my life. With all of that, to be machshav that is, and I'll end with this, that in my opinion, and I'm not trying to be dramatic, I'm trying to be honest, we're living, and I'll end with this one, give me one more minute. We're living at a time where we're about to enter to the Yontif, where we know that the men turned to the women, and the women provided the chizik that they needed to walk out of Mitzrayim. This Geula happened. B'schus nashim tzidkanios nigalu Mitzrayim. B'schus nashim tzidkanios we have Hatzoloh. And b'schus nashim tzidkanios we have people like you that are holding by Moshe Rabbeinu. And my brach is that you don't think you're less than that. My bracha is that you realize who you are, and with your inspiration and your dedication and all that you do, we finally get to a place where we stop looking at each other in a way that's negative. We start realizing that we're one people. We're one person. And we realize that this Yontif we should be zocher to be actually walk out of our own Egypt, personally and collectively. And we see that and get to a place where we have Hatzoloh dinners where they retire the actual ambulances. We don't need them anymore. We just can actually honor you guys for the work you did. May it come soon in a day. Thank you so much, and Harari, amen.
We agree with everything you said except about the hydrants. Don't take that seriously.